If you're left-handed, I have a fun fact that might just ruin your day. The very word for your dominant hand is baked directly into the word for evil itself. This is the story of how 10% of the human population spent thousands of years being treated like walking bad omens, simply because of which hand they used to reach for a spoon. Let's start with the word itself, because it's the fastest way to see how deep this goes. The English word sinister comes directly from the Latin word sinistra, which literally means left. Not evil, adjacent, not vaguely associated with, just left. Meanwhile, the Latin word for right dexter gives us words like dexterity, meaning skill and competence. Somewhere in ancient Rome, an entire language quietly encoded the idea that being right-handed meant you were capable, while being left-handed meant you were ominous. We've been carrying that baggage around for 2,000 years without most of us even noticing. Ancient Rome took this further than just vocabulary. Meet the augurs, official state priests, whose entire job was reading signs from the gods by watching birds. If birds flew on the left side of the sky, unlucky. If they stayed on the right, favorable. This wasn't just a weird folk belief, it was official state policy. It determined if Rome went to war or held elections. If a bird flew the wrong way on the wrong side of the sky, major political decisions were reversed. Because of this, left-handedness became permanently linked to unlucky omens by association. Essentially, for centuries, Roman civilization was run based on which side of a bird's flight path Jupiter felt like using that morning. Ancient Greece had its own version of this anxiety. In Greek texts, right-handedness was linked to strength and civic virtue, while the left was a sign of misfortune. It even leaked into their weddings. Brides were traditionally led with the right hand to avoid infecting the marriage with bad luck. Being left-handed in Greece didn't just make dinner parties awkward, it made you a walking violation of their entire cultural system. Then, things got much darker. During the medieval period, the Catholic Church leaned into specific biblical interpretations. The righteous sit at God's right hand, and the sinners occupy the left. In a time when most people couldn't read, they learned through art. Religious paintings frequently depicted demons, sinners, and even Judas Iscariot as left-handed. It was visual propaganda. If you were a left-handed child in medieval Europe, you were surrounded by artwork telling you that your dominant hand made you spiritually suspect before you'd even done anything wrong. This had brutal, real-world consequences. For centuries, left-handed children were forcibly retrained. We aren't just talking about a stern talking. Two historical records show hands being tied behind backs or physically restrained during lessons. Even as recently as the early 20th century in the UK and US, teachers used corporal punishment to correct left-handed writing. They treated a biological trait like a bad habit, similar to lying or stealing. It's a disturbing reminder that this ancient superstition persisted almost into the modern day. But wait, it wasn't always about magic. In many Middle Eastern and South Asian traditions, the left-hand stigma was actually about survival. In an era before modern plumbing, the left hand was designated for hygiene tasks, while the right was reserved for eating and greeting. It was practical sanitation logic, but the result was the same. A left-handed person had to consciously override their instincts dozens of times a day just to avoid offending society. Now, here's the proof that this wasn't some natural human instinct. The Incas. They actually viewed left-handed individuals with high regard, often associating the trait with unique spiritual or magical abilities. This proves the global suspicion toward the left wasn't biological. It was a constructed cultural pattern that some societies chose to interpret in the complete opposite direction. So, where does that leave us? Modern science shows that handedness is just genetics and brain development. It has zero correlation with your morality or honesty. And yet, the residue remains. We still call a clumsy compliment left-handed. We still use the word sinister every day. If you're left-handed and you've ever struggled with a pair of right-handed scissors, honestly, that's the best outcome your trait has had in 2,000 years of history. Stay mindful and let me know in the comments. Are you a lefty who was retrained? Or do you have a favorite sinister fact?